Hola, mi gente. Welcome to episode 8 of Books and Bachata, the podcast. I'm your hostess, Miss Malcolm Hughes. The goal of this podcast is to discuss love and life lessons learned the hard way, but mostly from books and bachata. Our topic for today is on accepting that some people will be unable to let go of who you've been in their story, which was inspired by a very difficult conversation that I had recently. But before we get into it, let's set the mood with the right musical vibrations.
I did some things I'm ashamed of. I'm just a man, angel. Yes, I am. And sometimes we fall short to love. I see the pain, baby, deep in your eyes.
That was We've Come Too Far by Dave Hollister, a true talent. If you're not familiar, please check his work out. That song really makes me feel like grateful and at peace because we've all made mistakes and fallen short of love. And so I think that that is a song, just like books, music is another medium that really allows me to connect across all humans and realizing that our challenges, our hardships, our difficulties are all connected in the same way that we are. That song actually transitions us nicely into our topic of today. And again, so recently I had a very deep and painful conversation with a long term friend and something a little more than friend. And after some reflection, I've made peace with all of it and accepted that some people will be unable to let go of who you've been in their story, and that's perfectly okay. So let me explain. This person and I have known each other for many years. We met when I was 18, so we've known each other well over 15 years now. And we have a very deep but arguably traumatic and frustrating relationship. At least that's what I discovered last night, or that's what I discovered during our most recent conversation while they were expressing their feelings. And for me, I think that the conversation was hard because they were processing in real time. They realized for themselves that a lot of the pain, a lot of what they've been chasing, a lot of what they've been pursuing and looking for in a woman, whether positively or negatively, as an end result of different relationships and situationships, stems from a deep admiration and gratitude of me and the relationship, friendship, the connection that we've had over time. And I'll give a little bit more background. So, this is someone we both met during a very turbulent time in our lives. We were both in not great relationships, and we kind of bonded off of that, but also just the connection was strong immediately. And this person and I'll say their gender because it will matter in a bit. So he and I have just on again, off again for a long time, never actually had sex. The most we've done is kiss and that in like close intimate moments and intimate, not in sex, but intimate as in intimacy and being connected. And so we've always talked about everything. And that's just been a lot of root of our relationship of being there for each other, seeing each other do different and difficult things. But it's also always become more. So in being so close and so intimately connected, in it blooming as something that could potentially be a great relationship. And more often than not, as he would say, as we've unpacked yesterday and we've talked about it before, I often run, I often leave, that's just been the history. Now, there was a time, the last time we tried, where I was ready and they were not, because we've seen each other through different relationships, different marriages. We've both done a lot. And so they were coming off of their divorce and we reconnected at a concert and it just went from there. But good intentions, wrong timing, right? And so as we were talking, I came to the realization I'm like, I think like, I'm the villain in your story. And they were telling me how they were feeling, but I was like, there's a lot of resentment and anger and pain and how you're talking to me. And they was like, yeah, like, what do you want? What are we doing? And we were having this conversation, and it became clear to me that, like, no matter what I said, the past was still very relevant and present for that person. And so, a big part of the past as well is, so there have been times in my life where I've dated women. That's not a secret to anyone. And the last time that we saw each other, they had come to visit me and they were asking me if I would ever date a man again. And my response was, no, that's not what I see for my future. No, that has changed. I have since then dated a man. But a big part of the pain and the frustration is they were upset that not necessarily that I chose myself a lot of the time, but that they wanted answers from me. They wanted me to be present in ways that I couldn't have been because I cannot give to someone else what I had not acknowledged and accepted for myself, right? And that's just historically been, I guess, the trend. And so, even as I'm sitting there talking to them and trying to be respectful and letting them have their moment to really vent their feelings, um, one thing that became clear and one thing they said, they was like, I hear you. My mind believes you. My spirit believes you. My heart doesn't believe you. And that's just based on a number of things in history, and I have to accept that, right? And that's perfectly fine. But after the conversation was all said and done, we had not been communicating because they are in a relationship, and I am someone who respects that. So we hadn't been communicating. They were a little upset about that, but they got it. But then also, it ended up coming to the same conclusion of like, we actually can't be friends, right? While they're in a relationship, boundaries would be crossed. It's just the connection is too strong, but also they don't trust me. And I think trust is foundational to any relationship, whether that's friendship, romantic, whatever. I think trust is key. Professional, you have to have a degree of trust. And so as I'm sitting there and I'm listening to them and they're bringing up so many things from the past, for me, it's just a realization because it hurt. Like at the end of the day, it all hurt. They cried at one point, I cried at one point. A lot of emotions, painful. And we got off the call with the realization, like, yeah, we should continue not talking. And it was frustrating for me because I was like, you reached the conclusion that I knew from the beginning of this call, but I had to allow that person to go through it and have their own process as well. And so I slept on it and I woke up the next day and I was like really sad. I was really sad. And I was like, why am I so sad? And I had to realize that I've already come to terms with every person I've been at every stage of my life. I understand that in some people's stories, I'm the villain, and that's okay, right? I wouldn't change the past. Maybe some decisions could have been different, and that's okay, right? But everything played out the way that it was supposed to for me to be the person I am today. But it's also hard when people are trying to hold you accountable, not even accountable, hold you attached. That's the word, because I've taken accountability, but hold you attached to the person you were at different iterations of your life. And I wanted to come on here and talk about this topic because none of us are responsible for taking on other people's understandings of us. So the person that he's upset with isn't the person sitting before you today. But I can't make anyone see that, right? And that's what the realization I have to have. He has these very strong feelings about a person that I've been, but I don't have to internalize that and take that on. I've already grappled with who I've been at every stage. And so I just came to the very real conclusion that some people won't be able to see who is before them because they're so attached to who you've been. But it's not on you to internalize that. It's not even on you to heal that. You can acknowledge it. You can take accountability and apologize for the harm and damage that you may have done in the past. But you also have a great responsibility to yourself to continue your healing and to continue moving toward light. So you cannot take on the person that other people are unable to let go of, the version of you that people are unable to see beyond. So that's really what I wanted to come on here and share. It's a shorter podcast, but I really just, that message was heavy on my heart. It was something that I had to grapple with. But I just wanted all of us to know that and understand it, that if you have made your peace with all of your bones, with everything you've done, and there are people who come forward and they're unable to see the progress and the growth, and they want to remain attached and connected to the pain of the past, to different iterations of yourself, that's okay. That's not on you to heal, it's not on you to fix. All you can do if you feel moved or inspired is acknowledge their pain, acknowledge that that version of yourself did them harm, and continue to progress and move forward and continue on your journey towards the life that you desire. And so that is my message, and that's something that I wanted to share. We all are accountable for ourselves, and you don't have to remain attached and connected to a version of yourself because other people are incapable of letting go. I really think of this healing journey in a lot of ways as Sankofa. You look back and you take the valuable lessons with you so that it helps to make a brighter future for you. But you are not required to live in the past and stay there because other people are incapable of letting go. So that's my message, and that is it for me, y'all. Until the next one, I am your illustrious hostess, Ms. Malcolm Hughes. And remember that as long as you can rest well each night with the decisions you made during the day and face yourself in the mirror each morning with the decisions you made during the night, none of the rest really matter. It really is all chatter in the end. So we're going to head out with the tunes of Special Lady by Carl Thomas. Peace, y'all.
I'll lead you where you always need to be, right next to me. Oh, you're such a special lady.